Yes, welcome back to yet the last episode of this year, 2025. Now, there's some excitement in myself, but it's more because that this is episode 75. Guys, this is a big thing. 75 is too many episodes of making noise, teaching here and there. Whatever the case, but we are here, 2025. This happens to be the last episode, the last Monday of 2025. And yeah, what else than to call it 2025 wrapped? So let's dive into the episode. So for me, there is a version of success that looks like a little bit different from what people may take. For me, it is that one that is attached to consistency. If someone is consistent at something, then they are successful in some way. And today is not a lesson, today is not a challenge, today is not a performance, I'm not teaching anything. It's just a thank you and a review and a reset. Personally, this is my 2025 wrapped. Before anything else, I have to just say that I'm very grateful to everyone that has listened to this podcast for the past 2 years, because now we're making 2 years. I started this podcast, I think, in 2024, July of 2024, and we have moved up to today, making it not yet 2 years statistically, but 2 years doing the same thing if you're talking about years changing. And this one is to everyone who listened quietly, everyone that shared an episode without tagging me, everyone that sent in a private message that this helped. Guys, you're the reason as to why this podcast has kept moving, even on days when my motivation didn't show up. For this year, something taught me something very important I learned this year was that impact doesn't always come with an applause. You'll always be making impact, but you don't need people to be clapping all the time. You can make impact without the applause. And it's okay, because most of these things we do are for ourselves. They're not for everyone. They're for ourselves. Personally, I started doing this podcast so that I learn how to idealize ideas. And by this, I mean stick on an idea and speak it through about 7 minutes. And I can say that the podcast has really helped me become more articulate with my mind, become more articulate with what I bring out as I speak. And let's be honest, there are things that worked out this year, there are things that didn't work out this year. But like I said, this is my 2025 wrapped. So I'll go through some of those things. Personally, I believe I showed up more consistently, even when some episodes didn't feel finished well. The conversations got a little bit deeper, not so loud. I've got a few people sending in texts that this stood out, and sometimes I even forget what I actually said in that podcast. Shout out to Raymond. He's always sending me those bull snippets of what I said. But also my other friends that keep checking on and seeing how the episodes are going, bringing in the feedback here and there. Yeah, you guys are the reason as to why I keep on making some of these episodes out there. Yeah, the podcast tried to stop impressing people, but more trying to connect with people and where they come from and the things that do actually matter to them. My ideas became a little bit more clear because I became a little bit more intentional about building this podcast brand. So this year wasn't about growth for optics. I didn't want to look at the matrix so much. It was about building my range, my voice, and the substance. All the things that are supposed to bring to you people were supposed to be better than the last year. And I'll make an announcement when it's due for when this podcast will make a shift to even the way it looks like, to even the way the name comes up and all that. But that is a plan that I have later. But because it itches so much, I have already said that it will happen. And it's something that I think will benefit all of us. By this, I mean, I need to be better for my listeners. I need to show up more. Yeah. But some things in my mind clicked this year. And I'll say this year was good for the sense of my moral development. If you listen to my 2024 Wrapped, it was more of a foundational year. And then 2025 becomes the year that builds the other part of that foundation. Because the foundation back then was more of setting myself up for the future. Picking on a habit here and there. But now when you pick on the habit, the things that you learn in that habit, or the things that you learn in that experience that you've picked up, the new experience. And that's what 2025 was for me. I stopped trying to sound smart. I stopped trying to be everywhere. And I stopped explaining myself to people who weren't listening. I stopped thinking about what would people think. I started putting myself out there. For those that have looked at my videos, I saw very good traction out there for my videos, which makes sense because podcast was also not doing so badly. And I'll be honest that I thank you guys. I really thank you guys. You've sharpened everything that I do. The topics that I do, you've sharpened them, the tone, the audience targets whenever I'm saying out whatever I'm saying has been sharpened. And yeah, the growth that I've got is more in clarity this year, understanding what works and what doesn't work. But the main lessons was consistency beats intensity. You can have a lot out there, but if you're not consistent in putting a lot out there, then the consistency will beat the intensity. And then depth always outlives that thing of being viral, virality. If you have deep things, like whatever you're saying is deep, it will always compound and compound and compound and compound. I've not been very consistent on the video part on my channels because it's trying to figure out something. And also the time being that most of the time when I wanted to do the recordings, I didn't have enough content to put out there, or the right content to put out there. Personally, I put out content that I believe would also help me, because there's going to be a future me that will be broken down, but my own content can bring me back, because it will always remind me of how great the times were, or of how great the times can be. And yeah, the other thing I've learned is that you don't need permission to evolve. You don't. I thought I needed permission to see myself on TikTok, to see myself, put myself out there. But I learned that you don't need permission to evolve. You need to just move. And then sometimes silence is strategy. Silence is sometimes strategy. And by this I mean that when someone is quiet, that doesn't mean that they are not doing anything. Sometimes what they are doing is observing. And observation helps so much in execution. Because if you observe before you execute, you are definitely going to execute better. And then, not everyone is meant to understand you. At least in the real time, not everyone is meant to understand you. Some people will understand you after. And yeah, 2025 was to be more precise, for me not to be so loud, but to put out there my mind. And then things that didn't work is that some things didn't land all the time. Some episodes didn't travel that far. So actually, most episodes didn't travel that far. But there is a guy I found out on Spotify. Turns out there's someone following me on Spotify podcast, and the guy listens to every episode. I don't know who that person is, but please reach out to me on a personal base so that we see what we can do about this. Maybe I can host you one day. Yeah. But that is it for this 2025 wrapped. But all I can say is that you need to find a way of experimenting enough so that the future is brighter for you. This podcast is a sinking space. It's not a factory line. And that's why I make it more intentional. And I'll be transparent with you about what is coming. There'll be fewer filler conversations. By this I mean few of those first conversations, first episodes, first titles. Yeah, there'll be more strategic thinking, there'll be more structured thinking also, and there'll be more of the uncomfortable honesty, because my brand is shifting towards bringing out that you that you've never met. Yeah, more episodes will be coming in. This podcast is becoming less about motivation, but more about mental clarity and identity and building capacity. The goal is not to hype you up. The goal is for you to see things straighter, for you to see things well, for you to become you. And later you'll understand why I'm saying for you to become you. And yeah, if you're listening to this, you are part of this journey, not because of the numbers, not because of the algorithms, but because you choose to sit in with the ideas that require thought. And by this I mean the things that matter more than you think. And so 2025 was not that very perfect, but it was meaningful. It needed to be more intentional, and it was. And so thank you for walking this journey with me. We are not yet done. We're just getting started. We're just getting more clear. Yeah, this is Bezos Chivalry 2025. See you in the next chapter. See you next Monday, which will be the 5th, which will be a new year. And yeah, we'll start with the New Year's resolutions and all that, the New Year's plans, and seeing into the new year. Otherwise, thank you for listening. See you in 2026. Peace.